one body, with one heart.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 1998 classic Jean-Claude Van Damme film, Legionnaire. The film is directed by Peter MacDonald and it stars, of course, Jean-Claude Van Damme as well as Steven Berkoff, Nicholas Farrell and Jim Carter. Now, the film is set in the 1920s, I believe it is. We meet Jean-Claude Van Damme's character, Elaine, who is a boxer, a prize fighter. He is going to box for the local mobster, if you like, and he is ordered by this gangster, the leader, that he's going to take a fall in the second round in this upcoming boxing match. He agrees to it, however, on the night of the fight, he doesn't throw the fight at all, and he ends up costing this gangster a lot of money. And he has to basically escape. The plan is to escape with the love of his life. It doesn't go to plan, and he ends up having to escape to save his own life, and he runs off to join the Foreign Legion. He's then in Africa. You see him doing his training to be in the Foreign Legion, to be a Legionnaire. He meets some friends who he kind of joins up with, and they become good friends in the Legionnaire, in the Foreign Legion, and they then basically head off to battle. However, his past eventually catches up with him. Right, what are my thoughts on Legionnaire? It is such a long time since I've seen this film. I can't believe it's 1998 when this came out. I remember the first time I watched this, and I have to be honest, I didn't like the film. And at that stage, I think, in my film watching habits, I was one of these where I kind of like, why would you put Jean-Claude Van Damme in a film and not get him to do martial arts? I didn't understand it whenever he did a film, especially at that stage in his career where there was no fighting really or martial arts to speak of. It didn't really make sense to me. So therefore, when I wanted to watch a Jean-Claude Van Damme film at that time, I wanted to see him doing all his kicks and all that kind of stuff and kicking ass. And this doesn't have any of that in it. This is Jean-Claude Van Damme's attempt, at this top point in his career to do something a little bit different, maybe stretch his acting muscles a little bit and, do something you don't expect. And I personally didn't appreciate that the first time I saw this film. And I've never seen it since. However, I thought I would rewatch this one because it's such a long time since I've seen it. And I have to say now, watching it all these years later, there's actually some merit to this film. I don't get me wrong, I don't think this is like a sprawling epic, that is unmissable or anything like that. But I think what we have here is an incredibly ambitious project for Van Damme that pays off in some areas, but doesn't in others. And what I mean by that is, it does feel like it's, this like an ambitious project to be like this epic, almost like Zulu type film, because you've got these legionnaires from going up against like the locals because they're invading basically, and the locals aren't going to put up with it. So you get to see a few battles with the locals, and and they're actually quite well done. I have to say, I thought like the battle scenes were impressively put together with some great explosions, some desperation. I thought they were well put together, and the director Peter MacDonald is the guy that brought Rambo 3 to the screen, so he's no stranger to this type of action, if you like. And easily the best part of this film is the action scenes. They're very well put together, and it did remind me of films like Zulu. If you like that sort of thing, then you probably will enjoy aspects of this. I think the early part of the film is the weakest part of the film, where he's in France and he's this boxer. They're trying to set up this story, where his former love turns up and he's got dreams of, running off with her to America, and he doesn't throw this fight. I get it. You need a reason to join the Foreign Legion, and this film, it kind of gives it him, this reason. But it didn't really go anywhere. And then the whole idea of his past catching up with him, in a sense of this gangster who wants revenge on him kind of sends some people after him, and they end up joining the Legion. And you know, guess what? They end up in the same unit as Van Damme. I mean, it's twaddle, really. And the film didn't need that, if I'm being particularly honest, because the film by that point had set up some good dynamics between Van Damme and two or three of the other soldiers within the unit. You know, they got this good camaraderie going on, and they cleverly, if you like, surround Van Damme with good actors to sort of, you know, help him along, I suppose. And he does okay, but you can't help but feel that he feels out of place in this film still, Van Damme. You know, at this stage in his career, and even now, you know, I reviewed one of his recent films just, you know, a couple of weeks ago, and his acting I thought was fairly poor in that. But we've seen that he has got the ability to act with the right director, so you can see him trying here, but he feels out of place in this, you know, and it's really quite hard to put your finger on it. I was actually more interested in some of the other characters in this film. There's a character called Mackintosh who's like an he used to be a major in the English Army, British Army, and he basically, you know, was dishonoured and he's left to join the Foreign Legion. I was pretty interested with this guy. You know, he had an interesting story, and so did a couple of the others. So I would have, you know, preferred to have the film focus a little bit more on their characters as well. But I appreciate the effort that this film puts in here. I think some of it misses the mark, I really do. But I also think some of it, you know, absolutely nails it. You know, it's the battle scenes really kept me really engaged and entertained throughout. And there were moments, you know, where you genuinely felt bad for some of these characters that were getting slaughtered, sort of thing, in these mass onslaughts from the enemy. And it took me back to, you know, my childhood watching like Zulu on a bank holiday when I was younger. You know, completely and utterly outnumbered and fighting, you know, desperately to survive. And I thought the film kind of got that bit right. So it did surprise me, this one. I don't know if it was, you could say it came at the wrong time in his career. I think it was at that stage in his career where his popularity was just waning a little bit, but he was still able to kind of get these type of productions going. Because it actually does feel quite big budget, this, when you're watching it. You know, the explosions and the sets and the big battle scenes and stuff. You know, it makes for impressive watching. So there's a lot of good points here, I think, with this film. But I also think there's a lot of things that just don't fit. You know, it's like a jigsaw puzzle with some pieces missing, and the pieces they tried to complete the jigsaw with don't exactly fit, and Van Damme's one of them, unfortunately. I don't think he's bad in the film, I just don't think he suits the film, if that makes sense. So yeah, I enjoyed revisiting this film, this Van Damme film. I'm gonna go through his filmography and watch some films that A, I might never have seen before, or B, I haven't seen for a long time, and review some of them. I've already reviewed quite a few of his films, but I'm going to kind of look for some of those that I haven't seen. So let me know in the comments if you've got any suggestions for Van Damme films for me to watch, and I will of course give them a look if I haven't already reviewed them. So join me for those reviews and plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.